Today, we've got Steve Simonson back on the show, one of the most knowledgeable people in the world when it comes to leveraging AI for Amazon sellers. He's going to talk about a wide variety of topics such as running remote teams to sourcing to a voice AI that can actually be your customer service rep. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Are you afraid of running out of inventory before your next shipment comes in? Or maybe you're on the other side and you worry about having too much inventory, which could cap you out at the Amazon warehouses or even cost you storage fees. Stay on top of your inventory by using our robust inventory management tool. You can take advantage of our advanced forecasting algorithms, manage your 3PL inventory, create POs for your suppliers, create replenishment shipments, and more, all from inside Inventory Management by Helium 10. For more information, go to h10.me/inventory management. And don't forget, you can sign up for a free Helium 10 account from there, or you can get 10% off for life by using our special podcast code SSP10. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. You know, here at Helium 10, I don't know how this happened, but we have a lot of S things. You know, we've got the Serious Sellers Podcast. We did the Sell and Scale Summit. Now we've got Steve Simonson here. And so I did have a hat with an S. This is actually a unique minor league baseball Sacramento hat here, but we're trying to keep the S theme together here, Steve. How's it going?
Boy, I'm well. I love it. The alliteration does not stop. That is really impressive. If you look closely at my forehead, you'll see a giant S carved into the forehead. So everybody get out your inspection equipment, but it's there. You can rest assured.
I love it. I love it. All right, guys. Well, this is not the first rodeo of Steve here. He's been on the podcast before. So if you want to get back into a little bit more of his backstory and different things, some of the episodes he's been on is episode 38, episode 459. And we're going to talk a lot about AI today because I think that's what Steve is known for, and that's what his module and Freedom Ticket is also about. But before I just want to just see what you've been up to like the last year. It's been a year or so since you've been on the podcast. How's back end of 2023 and 2024 been for you?
Yeah, it's been good. I tell you, it's a very fast-paced world we live in, and particularly as I focus on AI and how we integrate that into some of our enterprise-level software, it is just an endless train of upgrades. Like every week, somebody's got a new model and some new AI breakthrough has happened. And so we've been really quite busy at trying to figure out how to support these future frameworks within the same context of how can you build it once but allow it to be upgradable. So it's been exciting, it's been fun, but no short of challenges as well.
Sure, absolutely. Now, one place in the last year or so that we caught up was in Bali. We went and spoke at this event, and that was an amazing event. So anybody who has a chance to attend an event that Regina organizes, you should definitely try. We even had mud wrestling and everything. And I remember one thing you were talking about there. It's funny, like I don't remember what I did yesterday, but then I'll just remember the strangest things or the most random things. Is I remember you had like a big team across different countries, and you were talking a little bit about that, and it just got me thinking too. As entrepreneurs, most of us, we don't have like an office and we've got, in-office employees. We might start out hiring a VA here or there, and then the team scales. So, somebody like yourself with experience, managing scores of employees at the same time, what are some tips you can give Amazon sellers out there or just entrepreneurs who have remote teams? Like, how do you, first of all, just what are some tips on managing a remote team where you're not there in person?
Well, the first thing is it's a skill that you have to learn, right? So a lot of us think that somehow management is just built into all of us. I don't believe it is. And I think entrepreneurs are some of the worst at it, myself included. Maybe first and foremost, terrible manager. But I think you've got to build the skills. And so one of the things that we try to do is find ways of collaborating online that would be similar to an office environment. So, our HR folks will have, birthday celebrations, or, have monthly meetings to celebrate everybody's birthday, or those types of things. We also have other things systemically that try to help, remind everybody, hey, celebrate your Wednesday weekly win, right? Everybody has at least one win every week. So let's share those amongst the company, because there's, a lot of people in the company who may not know each other, different locations, different parts of the world. But I do want to just remind people that the basics really matter, like how you talk to people, understanding, where they're coming from. Do they have the essentials that they need to perform the job? And the biggest, revelation, especially dealing in the Amazon world, is everybody expects a VA to be a unicorn. It's like, you can do everything as the entrepreneur, so you just think you're going to delegate everything over to this unicorn. That's not going to happen. It's unfair, it's unrealistic, and it shows that you're not yet a competent manager. And so my advice is to, start slow, give very specific task-oriented things that have a beginning and an end, and then, kind of work up from there. And as the internet says, educate yourself, right? There's lots of books. One of my favorites is, it's the book name is called It's the Manager. People don't quit jobs, they quit managers. And the faster we as entrepreneurs learn that, the better off we'll be.
Yeah, for sure. Now, speaking of managers, once you get more than a few employees in a foreign location, you might make some kind of managerial structure. So for the subordinates, hey, performance management, things like that, it's probably handled by the manager. But how do you kind of like, performance evaluate the managers themselves? Because you don't have really a middleman. They're directly reporting to you. How do you know who's your stars, and then how do you know when you need to take perhaps corrective action?
Well, the number one thing that leads our decision making, and I recommend this for anybody, is data, right? Let's start with, what are the responsibilities of this particular section manager, right? Are they in charge of marketing? All right, how are the leads going? What are the KPIs related to this? And people have a lot of trouble coming up. They ask all the time, what are the KPIs? What are the KPIs? And, we talk about AI a lot. Go ask ChatGPT. Here's the position. Give me a general position description and give me good KPIs, and then massage it, right? It can't read your mind, but it can, kind of move and groove with the suggestions you give it. So KPIs are absolutely doable. Now, sometimes getting the data is a little harder than you want it to be, but once you overcome that hurdle, or at least come up with an alternative, then data should drive those conversations. And the question is like, hey, you're doing really well this week. What's going right? Why is this going so well, right? We want to be able to understand it, replicate it. Or, hey, you're behind your numbers. What are the challenges you're facing? Maybe they got a bunch of people on vacation, or maybe the Google credit card stopped charging. There's all kinds of things that happen in business. But numbers drive decisions. And we like to say, what's broken in the system, not what's broken in the people. Right? The people want to do a good job. In general, if you manage them and you're fair with them, then you're going to find that they want to perform well. They want to do a good job.
I'm sure we talked about more things. We had a good time there at the Balinese massage. That was my first one. I don't like those really rough ones, like in the Thai massages. Guys, don't get Thai massages unless you like pain. Oh my goodness. But I think they put you and Leo like in a couples massage.
Yeah. Leo and I decided to have the romantic couples massage. Yeah, it was lovely. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, like I had my room all to myself, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're gonna be here in this room.
How did he get the room? Although we all had the room with no walls, which is like, bugs and Google and everything else. But yeah, it was pretty neat. I think all of the, for an hour, it was $9 or something, and it was
you can't beat that.
Yeah, it was a delight.
Can't beat that. Great food and everything else. All right, now switching back to, one thing you talked about there, and you've been known for the last couple of years, is at the forefront of how Amazon sellers and e-commerce entrepreneurs should be leveraging AI. And so that's something that's changing on a weekly, monthly basis. The last year, what are some of the most notable advancements or differences in the world of AI as it relates to Amazon sellers?
Well, first of all, last year it was kind of the year of Chat GPT, right? Everybody
Mhm.
heard Chat GPT, and this became a synonymous term with AI. But they're just one company. ChatGPT is led by OpenAI, which is ironically not open now. It's closed source, and over that, they kind of led the tip of the spear into this new world of AI. There are plenty of others trying to get things done. Google has tried and has had a couple flubs. Amazon itself is now deploying AI for the customer facing side,
Mhm. Mhm.
as I'm sure many sellers are recognizing. And then there's so many others, including Meta, which has allowed their stuff to go actually open source, the Llama model, which is a large language model built on like 400 billion or 40 billion. I can't even remember. The numbers get so insane. I think it's 400 billion data points in the Llama 3.1, which is as good as any closed source or paid service. And that is exciting. Grok is exciting. So there's a lot of these engines coming out. For sellers, what they, in my opinion, should be focused on is like, how do I make my workflow today better, right? For, whether it's my own personal workflow, which I use AI all the time, or the work, process of my colleagues. And it's really important to tell your team, this is not to replace you. This is to enhance you. The AI will not replace you, but somebody who uses AI will replace you if you don't get your act together. Like, this is really, really an important message. And so, the first step is just how do you improve those workflows, and then there are many other exciting steps coming up down the line, almost immediately.
Maybe it's because I'm an old fogey, as it were, as far as adopting new things sometimes. But a problem with AI I've had in the past is a similar one with which I remember you kind of talked about in some of your presentations, how you asked AI last year, like, who is Steve Simonson, and it had your birth date wrong, and it said you had done this when you were some author or something like that, and this and that. And so, like, hey, I guess we call those hallucinations. But then, like, somebody even, we're a year later and I'm still seeing similar things. Like for example, you mentioned the Amazon AI. There's Rufus, and then there's ones that summarize reviews and stuff like that, and some of it's just absolutely useless. Like, no, it's like, yeah, customers love how large this seems, and they also love how small it seems. I'm like, come on, like, this doesn't even help me. So, like, is that an accurate assessment, or am I being biased? Like, say, hey, why is it taking so long to fix a lot of these hallucinations, or are you seeing macro an improvement on those kind of things?
Yeah, no question it is improving. So
Okay.
if you start comparing, ChatGPT 3.5 to ChatGPT 4 to, 4.0 and some of these other evolving models, the hallucinations are shrinking. They won't go away until there's a large enough data set that is, just more robust, honestly. So we should understand that it's still lying to you 20 to 25% of the time, just making stuff up out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, should be a real staunch warning to everybody. When you see the thing tell you something, in my case, it had the several book titles that I had written that I had not written, and no one's written, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I was very impressed with what it wrote, but unfortunately, it was not me. So expect that hallucinations will continue, but they will continue to reduce over time as well. So don't use that as your obstacle. That ain't going to work. There's so much positive, good stuff. Now, some of it has to do with how you structure the prompt or how you use the ins and outs of the data. And it's certainly not flawless, but every day it's getting better. And I've seen, like, the voice stuff is incredibly good now.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect within, let's say, 12 months, all the early adopters will have on their brand website, they'll have a brand, a message bot that is completely trained on their stuff, right? So all your PDFs, all your products, all your company policies, return policies, shipping, whatever, and it will be able to perform chats better than a human on average, right? And by the way, this has already been proven this year. A company sent 2 million live customers to their new AI chatbot, and it had more first touch resolutions. It had higher customer satisfaction, and obviously the cost was less. And it was the equivalent of 700 full-time people.
Wow.
So what we want is we want better customer experience. And if you can do that with AI, people will come to expect that to be available. So early adopters within 12 months, and then other people over time. For sure, message bot chat, 24/7 live educated bots about your stuff.
Hmm.
We're doing this now. It's very powerful. By the way, the larger your company is, sometimes you need this internally, right? Hey,
Yeah,
what's the
sure.
HR policy? What's the vacation? And where it can actually interact and go, oh, well, can I get this vacation off? And it will allow it to schedule and do other things. So very powerful stuff. That's coming real quick.
We're not going to go into everything he talked about in our module, but just for those who have access to Freedom Ticket, which is pretty much any Helium 10 member, let me just show you guys where you can go to see his information. Go into Freedom Ticket 4.0 under the module Product Research and Sourcing. Click on the Power of AI for Amazon sellers. We got you in a very flattering screenshot right there.
That's actually how I talk. My eyes are closed.
Love it. But hey, guys, he goes in depth there on how it can help Amazon sellers. But let's just stay on this subject and talk about some specific use cases. I think one of the things that was terrible maybe a year and a half ago or a year ago that has gotten a lot better, in my opinion, is images. And obviously Helium 10 has integrated some things. Amazon has integrated into their advertising. They actually require sellers to have custom images now for like sponsored brand ads and things like that. So if you don't have this humongous repertoire or a repository, I should say, of all these images, well, AI is kind of like the only way to go. So what kind of different AI tools should Amazon sellers be using now as far as imagery? And then what are the use cases that you see most useful?
Well, the first is the idea of simply being able to scale up your images, right? You can upscale images with very high fidelity that you could not do in the old days, right? I remember watching shows, maybe as far back as the 80s, and the cop shows like zoom in and enhance. And it's like anybody's ever worked with photos or videos is like, you can zoom in all you want. You're going to see giant pixels. There's no enhance available, right? But today you actually can upscale those images. So anybody who doesn't have giant zoomable images, I think that's a lost opportunity. And within that module, I put in a couple options that will do that upscaling for you. The other thing is coming very fast down the line is, beautiful room scenes or lifestyle shots, they might be called, with your product in the shot itself. And so that gives you just unending abilities to position your product in natural life, style images. There's any number of other ways you can do it. We use AI images to make themes, right? So you may say, well, gosh, I want to have my little travel bag, and I want to show it with a Washington State theme or a California theme, and AI will make beautiful, beautiful background imagery. And there's your social media, right? You can just do that for every single day or multiple per day. Really incredible. The ideation that this AI brings to the table, I think, is worthwhile. And the quality, as you said, Bradley, incredibly advanced compared to how it was, even a year ago, especially 2 years ago. So really, really, images should be a high priority for everybody.
I forgot it was a webinar I was watching Kevin King. He showed some kind of like, I'm not sure if it was released yet, but some previews of different AIs for video. And it looked real. I was like, how is this not real? So what is available, out there that's, like that you're not having to pay thousands of dollars for? Obviously you can get super advanced stuff. You can make movies and everything, with it, but something that's accessible to like Joe Amazon seller, who could, perhaps, make a product video with just uploading an image or a short video and then make that into a nice video ad or something.
Yeah. So one of my favorites for this type of purpose is called invideo.io. And I believe I highlighted in the Helium 10 presentation, but basically you can either just give it a text prompt, right? And it'll make an entire video for you. You say, how long do you want it? What's your, are you going on a a vertical short format or a horizontal long video format, right? So, one might be more appropriate for TikTok and the other one for LinkedIn or YouTube. And then you can even upload images of your product or videos that you may already have, and it can incorporate those. And it will do the music, it'll do the voiceover, it'll do the pulling in a bunch of videos around it, and it can be very, very effective. And so we use that every single day to make videos that are mostly good quality. There's a couple little pieces. It's like I've basically told my marketing folks, it's like, it's more important to have the video and get it out there and show some content than have the final little accent or the little relic that's on the screen solved. But in video is very, very powerful, and that's just one example. There are many like it.
What else? As far as I think the number one thing for me that even I'm using AI, and even 6 months ago, I probably still hadn't really used AI, but now I use it for almost every single one of my listings, is like listing generation. Obviously, since Helium 10 has it, I get access to it for free. But hey, people, you can get free versions of ChatGPT. But that one is really powerful to me because not just for, I'm obviously a native English speaker. I don't need help writing an English listing. But then sometimes I have writer's block, and I'm like, hey, let me go ahead and say, hey, make a listing. Here's my keywords, and I want it like in a funny tone. And then it's not the listing I end up with, but then I'm like, oh, this is a great direction. Let me just tweak a couple things. But for me, the power is like, hey, I'm going to make a listing in UK, and hey, I need to make one with British English. Hey, I need to make a listing in Spanish. I can kind of speak Spanish, but I'm not a native speaker, so I can write all my prompts in English, and then it'll go ahead and make a listing in Spanish. What are some things that you maybe think that sellers might be leaving money on the table as far as leveraging AI when it comes to their actual copy that they're doing, whether it's listings, whether it's blogs, etc.?
Well, the first thing is I believe that because AI is so new as a tool, and a lot of people, myself included, we had negative experiences, right? I would generate an image on Midjourney and the guy would have 9 fingers, right? And I'm like, so the clear thing that a lot of us said is, this stuff is crap. It'll never work. I'm out, right? And if you had hallucinations or you had kind of weird images and you haven't revisited it, you're making a mistake. So when you get in there, the next most common mistake is single dimension thinking, right? You say, I need a listing for Amazon for this product. And it writes out something that's relatively generic because you gave it one single dimension, listing Amazon, this product. But if you say, I want to add a language like you talked about, Bradley, or I want to write this like Dan Kennedy, one of the, very, very best copywriters, or maybe you don't know the name of great copywriters. You go, who are the top 5 copywriters, right? That are direct response copywriters, or who's the best, fantasy writers, whatever. And then write it in whatever style that you're looking for. So having a writing style, having an audience that you're trying to reach is just adding extra dimensions to that, first single dimension concept, right? I just need a listing. No, you need a listing written in a style for a platform to an audience in a tone, right? And the more of these dimensions you add, and there are far more that you could go, the more personality comes out of that. And that's really what you're looking for. You want the AI to help bring forward your own personality. And I highly recommend people add additional dimensional layers, and they will have better results.
Switching gears a little bit, and who knows, maybe this conversation will, or the answer might be some version of AI, but you are you network a lot, you go to events, you talk to a lot of Amazon sellers, and I'm sure you have felt the sentiment this year. It's probably, I would say, the most negative it's been in a while as far as new fees and profitability and competition. And hey, now there might be almost like Temu-ish thing going on where Chinese sellers can sell directly and ship directly and stuff. And so what is your advice to those people who maybe have a little bit negative connotation compared to before as far as selling on Amazon, not sure how they're going to proceed?
Well, the first is if they can get on the screen, I'll just pat them on the head. Hey, little buddy, it's going to be okay. So you guys can line yourself up if you're feeling down and go in for the pat. Listen, I've been around a long time, right? Dinosaur is, they're the young upstarts compared to me. So I've seen these patterns happen for multiple generations of ecom, right? Believe me, back in 99, 2000, it was the glory days. And then 2001, 9/11 happened and it was a nightmare and everyone hated everything. And, the dot-com crash happened. And then it got really good again in the mid 2000s and everybody's, flying high. And then the housing crisis and financial crisis globally happened and everybody hates everything again, right? And so, and again, these continue to happen. And so my mission for true entrepreneurs is, if you're going to be persistent, if you're going to be in the game, expect ups and downs. Do not play that just straight up line. There is no line that looks like that. Even those crazy hockey sticks that you see that from companies, there were little iterations of up and down all the way. And I just want people to know that persistence is really part of the game. And if you go to relentless.com, do you know where that goes, Bradley?
I do not.
It goes to Amazon. And the reason why is because Jeff Bezos said, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you better be relentless. So you can check it out right now, relentless.com, for anybody out there. That's what you got to be. And so, listen, it's okay to, I always say, take one lap and go, this sucks. I wish this didn't exist. These fees, this competition, this problem, this whatever. And then get to work and try to solve it or come up with a strategy to get over the obstacle.
Yeah,
that's your choice. Deal with it or get out of the business, right? And I think serious people have to get serious about business, so they should listen to a podcast for serious sellers. I don't know, just off the top of my
head. Double clicking on your little dinosaur comment, if I'm not mistaken, you even at one point kind of retired and got out of the game. And then you got back in. How does somebody know when it's time to I'm not talking about the long sail into the sunset or anything, but hey, it's time to just relax and enjoy life, or no, you know what, I still need something that drives me, because it's not an age thing, like I know people in their late 20s who retire because they've had enough success and they've accomplished what they want to. I know people in their 80s who are still working strong. So how does the entrepreneur get to a point where there's like, I'm ready to kind of like relax a little bit?
Well, the first thing is, everybody's got their own context of where they came from and where they want to go. So don't let me project my stuff onto you guys. But I can tell you, Retirement 1.0 sucked, right? It was awful. And it's not a question of, could I do anything I want? Yes, I could. But my friends couldn't come out and play, right? And my family got tired of being on vacation. My kids were tired of being on vacation. Now, people can go, oh, cry me a river. That, what kind of first world problem is that? But it's still a real problem, right? Because I did not enjoy it. And then I felt guilty because I'm living a life that anybody would kill for. And that doesn't make you feel good. So my brain is not wired to kind of check out. And so Retirement 2.0, which I've recently begun testing, we're in beta, is basically just trying to say, well, listen, I don't want to work 80 hours and I don't want to work any hours on things that I don't like. So over time, you'll find things that you like or don't like and start positioning even your role within your current company on the things that you like to do. By the way, somebody loves to do the thing that you hate the most, right? Mm-hmm. And I had this realization. One of my finest team members, she's been with me, gosh, it's probably coming up on 25 or 30 years. She loves the thing that I hate the most. So I kept doing the details and very complex Excel sheets and forecasts and inventory and things that I hated doing far too long. When I was able to turn it over to her, kind of an exasperation because I'm a terrible manager and I don't know anything. She's like, oh, thank God, I've been dreaming about this. And I just couldn't imagine in my own small brain that like somebody else would love to do this thing. So remember that there's so many different people. Somebody wants to do the things that you hate to do. So please, the faster you can, excuse yourself from the things you hate, get the people who love to do those things. And then you'll start to chart your course, whether it is a financial course or a lifestyle course or whatever it is, towards that bright future. Me, I have to do stuff. My brain will not allow it to stop, and that's why I try to spend so much time helping entrepreneurs. I want them to come on vacation with me and let's go play.
That's good advice. I ask myself this question, sometime of wondering, hey, well, when is it time to to hang it up, as it were. But I wouldn't be doing what I do if I wasn't feeling fulfillment and motivation from it. So as long as I still can, I'm still gonna keep on trucking. Now, speaking of pre-retirement 1.0, one of your previous lives, you were heavy into like sourcing and things like that. What's I'm sure you keep your pulse on that industry as well. What should Amazon sellers these days be thinking about when it comes to, hey, I'm competing sometimes with Chinese factories now. Hey, like there's tariffs. Should I be considering India and Pakistan and Vietnam? Hey, shipping prices are fluctuating like ridiculousness. Like as if it were still COVID. What's some just general advice you can give sellers who are thinking about those kind of issues?
General advice: get in the bunker and prepare for war. It is.
There you go.
Yeah, it's so. We still the companies I sold. We still have me and my team still have some supply chain responsibilities. So we're interacting frequently in this space. And I just got off the call with some sourcing folks I have in Pakistan just before our conversation. And all of the things you just brought up are, annoyances. They're just part of the thing. I did not predict shipping getting spicy again, but I did predict some of the what I call kinetic action. Over the last couple of years, we've said, the people who follow geopolitics, we've said there's going to be more kinetic action, which is a nice way of saying people are shooting stuff at each other, which is terrible. What that means is these supply chain disruptions are unexpected. Like the fact that the Red Sea is kind of closed for business is insane. Nobody had that on the bingo card, right? So everybody's going around the South African. I just saw 2 ships going around the Arctic on their way to Holland. So from China around the Arctic to Holland, and at some point they'll need icebreakers there. So there are unique things and unique challenges that we face, but it's kind of like take a beat, look at the immediate picture, right? You have your short term. I got to ship product now, deal with that, overcome whatever the obstacles, pay what you have to, and then think about, all right, now in 6 months, what does it look like? And is there a way I can avoid this, whether it's resourcing elsewhere, nearshoring or onshoring? But I can tell you, like right now, we have a very complex project, and I've got people in Pakistan and India, and it is very difficult to solve this problem. But that's why there's a moat, right? And everybody who's complaining about how difficult or hard or whatever, all of those are moats, right? This is your advantage. We're ultimately, most Amazon sellers are not manufacturing the product ourselves. We have somebody else do that. So what value do we add? We add all the value of solving the problems throughout that supply chain, and then into the marketing side. Like all of that is our value add. And we either add value and deserve what we make, or we don't, and we deserve what we make, right? And this is a very important point. Our value that we're adding is overcoming all of these problems. So guess what? That's why you get paid. You got to deal with the trouble.
All right, before we get into your final strategies of the day, how can people find you, reach out to you on the interwebs out there?
The Awesomers.com podcast still records videos from time to time, and I have a whole founder series directed at folks. It's almost like a little mini course for you. It's free. It doesn't take anything to do it. You can find me at parsimony.com, just Steve at parsimony.com. I spend most of my time on software and AI, trying to smash those things together in an enterprise way, right? So anybody who's doing, 5 million, 10 million, if you're doing 10 million or more and you don't know what ERP is, you are unnecessarily driving yourself insane. But I recommend not going insane. Systems are better.
You usually better not to, yeah. Usually
yeah. Advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm just thinking.
There you go. All right. Now, can you give us a couple 30 or 60-second tips? Could be about traveling, could be about AI, could be about sourcing, anything you want.
Well, one thing I mentioned earlier that chatbots are going to be a big thing for early adopters in the next 12 months. But I want to call out one of my favorites, Bland.ai is a voice customer service tool. And that company is an example of it. I'm saying this concept is coming to a voice line near you. And especially for brands who have the capacity to pay 9 cents a minute to interact with customers, you train it on your own data. And then this bot can be a sales person for you, a customer service person. And it's really, really good. Bland.ai, amazing types of technology. I'm not suggesting this is the only company. There are many and many more.
Is that the one that at $1 Billion Seller Summit, we were waiting for the helicopter? And then you're like, here, listen, like
call this number.
I'm going to call this. Okay. Yeah. I remember that. It was kind of blew me away. Yeah.
Well, it's still the great example of what if you could just call a number and talk to a AI like a human, which is the ironic twist, and stop yelling representative 1,000 times, right? Which is
yes.
the ultimate nightmare. So all the big companies are moving this direction. I think small brands have this opportunity to, in the same way that AI can supercharge, a non-English speaker into beautiful English language listings, which should be a warning to everybody. Small guys can do what big guys do, right? Whether it's video, voice, messaging, AI levels the playing field. That is the most important point. So, if you feel scared, if you feel nervous, talk to your friends, figure out those, easy use cases. But don't be afraid of it. Embrace the fear and get to it.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're definitely gonna have you back. Unless you're on retirement 3.0 and in full launch mode, we'd love to have you back next year to see what you've been up to. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you at event. Are you going to Amazon Accelerate?
Yeah. That chance? One I actually live in Seattle, so a good chance.
I know. I was about to say just maybe walk there, or ride a bike or something.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll be seeing you at Amazon Accelerate along with everybody else. And thanks a lot for joining us again.